Shout out Sniper T on the beat.
Tamara to the break of dawn is on the rise, with life on the forefront of the mind. So line for line, you can ride this brain train and you can change your station without even touching the dial. So relax, stay a little bit, but listen for a while. And whether you're bumping this in the whip or in a business fit, it's a meeting you won't want to miss. A meeting for a meal to feed the soul with words for the mind. So sit back, enjoy the ride. Time to take off, it's time to fly. Cause Tamara till the break of dawn is on the rise.
Hey, y'all. It's me, Tamara. Yes! Studio audience, I love when you act like you know what you're supposed to be doing when the show starts, you know what I'm saying? So yes, thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome to the show. To all my new listeners, new episodes drop every Thursday. So come on back through. I usually talk about my life, my interests, and the ways I'm trying to grow. It's funny how as the show has progressed, I've had to add that and my interests in, because sometimes I'll do stuff related to shows I like or just things that I like. And so, yeah, show's all about me. And to all my regular supporters, thank you so much for your support, y'all. We episode 151 coming up on 3 years next month. That is wild. So thank you so much for everybody that continues to listen, no matter what type of content I put out. I appreciate it. If you're not, you should totally follow me on social media. The links to all of that is in the episode notes. If you're not, you should also subscribe to my YouTube channel. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to grow my channel. It literally costs you nothing to support me in this way. So I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe. And then if you have a channel, it'll give me an email notification and I'll subscribe back. So thanks, guys. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I love this new. I've just started last week with coming back, where Sunday is my rest day now. So back in the day, kind of for a while, Saturday was my rest day, and I've shifted to Sundays. But the two things that I will do on Sunday, it's like I go to church, have that, and then I come home. And last week I recorded and then wrote a blog, and this week that's just going to be my new habit. And I really like that because, first of all, recording and writing blogs is not work to me. So like, I am someone that likes to create. I am someone who loves to write. Like, that's where it all started before there was a podcast. So I love to have a day where the only thing I do is record and write, and I don't edit. I literally do nothing else with this stuff. It's just like a creative day for me. And I love this new flow that I have going, because after I do this, I'm a cook. It's Sunday. So if you know, I love Power, so I'm going to watch Power episode today. So yeah, it's a great just little shift that I had in my schedule. But y'all, speaking of, I went to church, right? This has nothing to do with church, what I'm about to say. But in case you were wondering if God is real, I am here to tell you that God is real. And the reason that I know that God is real is if God was not real and he had not transformed my life and he had not changed my heart and tempered me to where I'm a little less quick to respond to certain things and think a little bit more strategically, and I'm not like as led by my emotions and stuff like that, right? If God wasn't real and had not transformed my life in that way, I promise y'all with everything in me that I would be in jail right now. Not because I did something and I got away with it, because I would have done something and I would not have cared about not getting away with it. Like, there's a lot going on right now that I'm really, I guess I could talk about it if I wanted to, but I'm not, just because if you know nothing else about me with this show, those of you that have listened for a while, I'll talk freely about stuff that only has to deal with me. You know what I'm saying? But when it involves other people, So yeah, guys, God is real though, in case you were wondering. I'm here to tell you that he really is, you know what I'm saying? But that aside, last week I kind of talked about how this is a new season of parenting for me. And it's funny because I had wanted to talk more about it, and then I don't know, like I'll have an idea of what I want to talk about in the episode, and then whatever happens happens, you know what I'm saying? Even when I have notes, whatever happens happens, cuz I don't want these episodes more than close to 30 minutes. I don't even really want it to be 30 minutes, honestly. I really want them to just be shorter solo episodes. And so I was talking about how this is like a new season of parenting for me because my kids are all adults. So my youngest graduated from high school in May. She'll actually be 19 on Halloween. And then my middle child is 20, and my oldest will be 23 next month. So it's just this new phase of parenting where, like, homecoming was yesterday for a lot of schools here where I live, and I was looking at other people's kids' pictures and all that, and I'm just like, I feel so far removed from all of that. And it's wild because now she didn't go to homecoming her senior year, but she did go to prom. But because she finished school so early, so by October 1st of last year, she was done with classes and had did what she needed to do to graduate. And so because she finished school so early in her senior year, it just seems like that was a lifetime ago. Plus so much has changed in my life and me. It's just so wild because from week to week it seems like it was a lifetime ago because so much literally has been just shifting and moving and all this stuff in my life and in this new season of parenting. And so, like I said, I've been really figuring out like who I am, what I really like. I got to go to my not got to, I mean I guess you could say got to, but I want to go to my niece's volleyball game yesterday, and it was just it's so I don't know, I didn't realize I liked volleyball as much as I did. I guess I never really had time to think about like interests and whatever because it's just been raising kids, and then I was in college, and I've just always been super busy for I'd say probably about the last over a decade, you know what I'm saying? And things are slowing down like in a different way. There's still a lot of chaos going on, but my kids are less needy. They're gone a lot more because they work or they're with their friends or whatever. And so I have, like I said, a lot more time to just figure out what I want to do. And it's really interesting because as I've been in this, and then, as we know, I've been single for a long time, and I've just really been thinking lately, like so much of my adult life, honestly, has been pouring into kids or whatever. And so, some people who don't have kids yet or don't have kids early in adulthood like I did because I became a mom at 19. So people who don't have that life, it's kind of like they get to experience adulthood just them and then decide if they want to get in a relationship or whatever. So many people have a desire, of course, to get married or have kids and all that stuff, and it's so interesting because I was never someone who like there are people that I know that they're like, I always wanted to be a mom and this, that, and the other. And I love my kids, but I didn't grow up like, oh, I want to be a mom and that's like all I want to be. You know what I'm saying? And so I have kids and whatnot, but I'm realizing how much, how, like, just in this new season where it's like, I get to focus more on me. You know what I'm saying? It's just really interesting because I've just found myself like, man, I don't even know if I really, and maybe I'll feel different later, but as am just starting to get like, I guess we'll say freedom in a sense, and just more time to think about myself. It's just really interesting because I've really been thinking like, do I even want to get into another relationship? Like, do I even want to invest that mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and even just giving somebody my time? You know what I'm saying? But just relationships in general, even friendships or raising kids or whatever, it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of sacrifice of self sometimes, because sometimes you have to like be a little bit more humble or be a little bit more tempered when talking about certain situations, you know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to cause damage to the other person. You have to be mindful of your triggers and just all these things. And so it's just a lot. And I know there's like reward, there's because there is the part of me that wants companionship and all that, but it's kind of like a lot goes into relationships. And I've just really been thinking like, man, I really like the fact that like I do a lot more stuff by myself. Like I go to church by myself. You know what I'm saying? And then usually after church, I'm home alone for a little while because my mom, we don't go to the same church, and so she'll be doing her thing. My kids will be wherever they're at, and then I'm usually like by myself, and I enjoy my alone time. You know what I'm saying? It's so funny because I do so many things and have for a while, but I do so many things within my professional life that cause me to be more extroverted, or even hosting not one, but now two podcasts. You know what I'm saying? And just networking and being a part of community. So, like, there are all these things that have caused me to need to be extroverted, but I am not an extrovert. Like I am rejuvenated when I am by myself. I am perfect. I love people, don't get me wrong, but I don't need people. And that's the difference between an introvert and an extrovert. Is an extrovert is someone who they become rejuvenated and come alive even and just feel refreshed being around people, like a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Introverts are the opposite. We feel refreshed or rejuvenated by ourselves. And so I am someone who can be by myself. And when you think about the five love languages, shout out to, you know what? I can't even think about what her real name is. Her podcast was Conversations with a Brown Girl. And I say was because I'm not sure she does podcasting anymore, but I'm not 100% sure because I know she started a business recently. But nevertheless, she had an episode once that talked about the five love languages. So there's quality time, physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of service, and gifts, right? And my top two love languages are quality time, and it kind of fluctuates back and forth between words of affirmation and physical touch, but the number one is quality time. And so in the episode, she was talking about, and I feel like I've talked about this on here before, but in the episode, she was talking, and it's so funny because the episode was definitely over a year ago, but it's just, there's certain things that just stick with you. And so in the episode, she was talking about how when quality time, I'll just stick with that one, is your love language. One of the ways that you can love yourself with quality time is like if you spend some time doing creative stuff. And so I've noticed that when I'm like, we know I create a lot of content for all of the companies and, brands and whatnot. And I'm not talking about this platform because, again, I keep this platform like I'll never monetize it, none of that, so that it can just stay my own little, this is my creative outlet. Like, this is for me. But I create a lot of content that I kind of have to create for gaining exposure for my company and whatnot. But what I've noticed is that sometimes when I'm super stressed or I'm feeling just blah, I will just, this is where I've gotten to making all these random TikTok videos. I'll just create different TikTok videos. And it's interesting because none of them have had this, like, none of them have been the same. It's all about these images, videos, whatever that I'm putting together that a lot of times aren't from the same day or setting or whatever. It's my chaos series, as I like to call it. And I will just edit it and put it together, add the transitions and all that. And that's like my quality time with myself, you know what I'm saying? And this is why I really love doing the podcasting, like the recording of my solo episodes on Sunday on my day of rest, because this is like quality time for me because I'm creating, or when I write my blog on Sunday. Again, I don't do any of the stuff that I dislike, like editing is so blah. It's part of why I keep my solo episodes 30 minutes or less, because now I'm actually doing more with like editing. And so, I'm not trying to edit hour episodes anymore. You know what I'm saying? So I've really enjoyed, though, the quality time that I have doing things that I enjoy. I've been like reading more, you know what I'm saying? And reading is something I used to really enjoy back in the day. Now I am a little more intentional about what I read. So I try to read books or even articles that are going to be helpful to an area that I'm trying to grow in. And a lot of that is because I don't have a lot of time. So I don't watch a ton of TV. And I've kind of always been like that because I've always been super busy just in different ways. And so every Saturday when I do my work, I read at least three to four articles that are related to the weekly teaching topic. So I've been reading a lot about leadership, but like different facets of leadership that relate to whatever the weekly teaching topic is. And then there's this book I'm reading called Soul Something that I can never remember the title of it, that has to do with like being spiritually healthy. Mind you, I read my Bible every day, but at the same time, I just like to read. You know what I'm saying? That's always been something since I was a kid. I love getting lost. I used to read a lot of, not when I was a kid, but at one point in my life when I was less busy, I used to read a lot of like Eric Jerome Dickey, or I can't ever remember any of the other, but like black authors. And the cool thing about it is, so like The Coldest Winter Ever, a lot of y'all have heard about that book. I still haven't read the sequel, but I've read like books like that. Books that really just get you lost in the world of the character. I love a good book that makes me forget that it's not real. Good movies too, just good writing, honestly. But I love where you don't see these people, because sometimes even the cover art for the book is more like cartoonish and kind of abstract, which I'm a fan of abstract art. And so, what I love about reading when it's just pleasure reading is that you can just really get lost and kind of visualize what you think the characters look like in this, that, and the other. And so, I've really been reading a lot lately. Obviously, it's different now, but it's interesting because yesterday when I was reading the articles for this week for teaching. Now it's so funny, and I told my mom this, because this week's teaching topic for Tamara the Dawn Inc. is consistency. So every week is a teaching topic, and then all of the content that I put out in different ways is related to that teaching topic. So like with consistency, that can be taught in so many different ways, because you can teach about being consistent as a leader, but then you can also teach about being consistent in your marketing, and also can talk about being consistent with your product and just being consistent, like keep going, you know what I'm saying? So there's so many things that you can talk about with each topic. But I was reading this article, and it was saying that good leaders keep a consistent demeanor in a crisis. And I don't know why that just stood out to me as far as like my life the past, we'll just stick to almost a year and a half, where it just seems like there has been thing after thing after thing after thing that has been unexpected as I've been working towards. And it's kind of like in some ways working towards different things, because initially a year and a half ago, I was still at my full time job. I'm trying to think, my company hadn't even launched yet. I might have still been doing the courses that were related to it. Melon Intoxicate hadn't launched. So at that point, it was just me working towards getting through what I needed to get through to get my business registered. And I wanted to get Melon Intoxicate launched, right? Then we move forward to then it's okay, so now I'm just an entrepreneur and now I'm trying to grow my business. And in the midst of all that, I'm in transition. And so me stepping away from my job means, okay, I'm going to be at my mom's house longer than I thought I would be. Okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? And just all that's happened since then. And it's just been thing after thing after thing that I've had to just adapt, pivot, and all these things. But one of the things that I've noticed more recently is how calm ultimately I am, and how I'm pretty much oftentimes the one trying to keep a lot of people in my immediate sphere of influence that are related to what's going on in my life calm and focused, and like let's not get completely thrown off by this thing that we didn't know this was going to happen. Part of that though is my trust in the Lord and his plans for my life and this, that, and the other. And like life is gonna life. You know what I'm saying? Life is gonna be hard at times. So like having a relationship with God doesn't mean that life is going to be easy, but I know I'm not alone. He's shown himself to be trustworthy. He's shown himself to have transformed my life, as I talked about in the beginning of this episode. And even with that, it's my trust in him that kind of can help me to remain calm. But then, too, it's kind of like I'm seeing where that's like a form of leadership development where ultimately I've always kind of been that way, though, where it's like, okay, it's oftentimes been that the anxiety leading up to thinking something's going to happen is actually worse than what actually happens. Cause it's like, when I'm anxious about it and fearing it or whatever, I'm coming up with all these scenarios of like this, that, and the other. Like I overthink a lot and I have to try to reel myself back. And that's actually something I've been working on lately because it can be a bit much, you know what I'm saying? But then it's like once you're in the situation and you have to just work through and navigate it, it's kind of like I'm more just focused on, okay, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? And so in that, I don't know. I'm just thinking about, I remember somebody, doesn't matter who, used to be mad at how consistent of a demeanor I would keep in. I'm usually pretty nonchalant or just chill. It takes a lot to get me riled up, you know what I'm saying? I like to laugh more than anything, and it doesn't take anything. I do that on my own, you know what I'm saying? But it's just really interesting reading that because I'm like, huh, it's almost like life has been like leadership development and I didn't even know, you know what I'm saying? Because it's kind of like when I'm leading a company and then also at some point I'll have staff and all that. And I've been a manager before, so it's not like I haven't ever led staff, but I've always pretty much been that person who like for the most part keeps a consistent demeanor. So it's super interesting because then when you think about leaders that I've had that are not that way. And the article went on to say that when you keep a consistent demeanor in a crisis and you're not easily like you can't be physically like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? And within reason, like if something extremely extreme happens, okay, that's different. But every little thing can't take you to that, oh my God, because if you're leading people and you're not consistent in your demeanor, ultimately what happens when are so easily and visibly shaken when you're in a leadership role is that the people that you're leading are going to have less trust in your ability to lead because you have to be the one who stays calm and just strategic and intentional enough to lead them out of whatever the crisis is. And so it's just really interesting because now I can see that like just how much leadership development I've had. And it's something I've been super heavy on in the content from my company because it's something I've always been like passionate about is having effective leaders in workplaces. And so I don't know who pays attention to like the theme or whatever of my content. But if you have paid attention, you'll see there's been a shift where it's like I use language that's going to appeal more to entrepreneurs because I see that's more so my target audience, either entrepreneurs or people that want to be entrepreneurs, but then also leaders, you know what I'm saying? So leadership development, because even if you're not an entrepreneur, we have executives or managers or whatever that we all should be continually developing ourselves. So even me as a business owner, there came this point when that's why I read articles every week, because I had reached this point of, okay, I've poured out everything that I know as far as about the topics that I teach, but I can't recycle the same information when I come back to the topic because I go through, it's like a 20-week rotation. So there's 20 ish, because some of the weeks it'll be like this or this depending on the rotation, but it's a 20-week rotation, and then we just do it again. You know what I'm saying? And when I come back to it, it's kind of like that's why I started reading articles. I want to say by the probably by the third rotation, maybe, I was like, okay, I've poured out everything that I feel like I can pour out just out of that's already in me. I got to make sure I'm filling myself up with more and more knowledge, which is something I read yesterday too. So it's interesting how articles I read kind of confirm what I'm doing, even if I don't have the language for it. It's something that I'm doing. And so, yeah, it's very important to continue to make sure that I am filling myself up with knowledge and making sure also that I'm understanding the current trends, you know what I'm saying? Because things shift, and I want to make sure that I'm giving out up to date information to people, especially if I'm saying that I'm someone that's teaching, about these different topics and whatnot. So yeah, it has been a interesting season as always. Life be lifing, you know what I'm saying? Life be lifing. But God is good, God is real. Praise him, because your girl would definitely be in jail right now. Y'all be like, dang, what happened? She don't miss. Y'all would know something serious is wrong, because those of you that listen, y'all know I don't miss. You know what I'm saying? So I woo praise him. But I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here. So thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you're taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. Be healthy in your relationships. You know what I'm saying? And I will talk to you soon. Bye.
Ladies and gents, this concludes transmission. Tune in next time for a whole new edition. Another adventure and mission to share, be heard, and clarify the vision of this whole new world for